Hello, class. This is Brenda Craner here, and today I'm going to give you an overview of the Clifton Strengths. So, just as we get started, what I'd like you to do is make sure you have your report available to you. So, you would have already gone online and accessed it, taken the assessment, accessed it. Secondly, I want you to make sure you have available the Clifton Strengths worksheet I have posted in Blackboard. This session is going to guide you through completing that worksheet. So, without further ado, what you're seeing right now on the slides are my top 5 Clifton Strengths. Achiever is my number 1, Maximizer is my number 2, Learner is my number 3, Relator, and then Focus. So what I'm hoping we're going to gain today, or you will while you're watching this on your own, is explore your strengths, understand how they influence how you operate day to day, and then learn how to use other strengths to enhance team effectiveness in your workplace, your job, your volunteer organizations. And then through some of the readings as you choose, learn strategies for leveraging your strengths so you can increase your productivity. So I like to start off by having you think to yourself, do you ever wonder why you make certain choices, why you do what you do, why you like certain things? And sometimes you're better at things than someone else. I know I tend to be more of a word person or a writer than I am a numbers person and a mathematics whiz, right? So that's based on some of my innate talents. So I know I can't see you raise your hand, but think about this. If you do any of these, how many of you tend to talk to people in elevators, grocery stores? You don't really know a stranger. What about having a color-coded or organized closet in some way, shape, or form? You write down things on a list to do and stick to it. I'm such a list person that if it wasn't on my list and I did it, I'm going to write it down just so I can cross it off. How many of you make lists of things to do on the weekends as opposed to just whatever goes? How many of you pick someone to race while driving? One of the 34 Clifton Strengths themes is competition. I tend to see my athletes in classes and organizations tend to have more of the competition talent. What about sometimes you ask too many questions? This is someone who's really focused on input as one of the themes. And then, push the elevator to remind the elevator you're there. I mean, all of us do different things for different reasons. It's part of who we are, our innate talents, as they'll say. Okay, so now what I'd like you to do is grab a sheet of paper anywhere. It doesn't have to be big. It doesn't have to be, you're not turning it in, right? And grab a pen or a pencil, and I am going to give you 15 seconds to sign your name as many times as you can on that sheet of paper. Ready, set, go. Okay, go ahead and stop. Now what I'm going to ask you to do, same sheet of paper, possibly on the other side or underneath it, I'd like you to put your pen or pencil in your less dominant hand. So if you're right-handed, you would have written your name, signed your name with your right hand. If you're left-handed, you would have done it with your left. Now I want you to switch. So I want you to sign your name, do your signature as fast as you can, 15 seconds with your less dominant hand. Ready, set, go. Okay, stop. So, what did you notice? Think about it for a second. Do they look the same? Is the second one as legible as the first? Odds are no, right? So I like to do this challenge because talents are essentially that. They're things that come naturally to you. So the first set of signatures is something that's more natural. It's innate. It's part of how you've always signed your name or written. The other one, while it doesn't compromise your values and it takes a little bit more work, Odds are, if you were to practice with that less dominant hand, you would still, it may get better, but you still may never perform as well as you did with your more dominant hand. I kind of like to look at this like Michael Jordan, great basketball player, right? So if I were to practice like Michael Jordan did, would I be as good of a basketball player? Odds are no. I might get a lot better, but I'm probably never going to reach his performance potential because it's just not an innate talent I have. So this kind of gives you a perspective of, think about the handwriting challenge when you're looking at strengths and talents. So the key to success is to fully understand how to apply your talents and turn them into strengths. So I may have a talent I didn't really realize, but once I realize it, I can start using it more, leveraging it in my job, and then it turns into more of a strength. So strengths-based development is unique, is because it builds on what you already do well. If you think about America right now, right, we tend to look at where people don't measure up and we try to help them get to a certain standard. The CliftonStrengths concept looks at, what are you already doing well? How can we build on that and make you even better? So as opposed to looking at you as deficient, it looks at you as already strong. How can we make you stronger? It's a great positive psychology concept. So there's nothing wrong with being aware of your weaknesses, because obviously you can't have, if you're a presenter, you can't have poor communication skills. That's going to be a flaw that's too difficult for you to perform. But if I don't have the greatest writing skills, could I still be a presenter? Sure. So let's pay attention to strengthening my presentation skills. We can work on my writing, but they're not going to keep me from doing a good job. So there's nothing wrong with being aware of your weaknesses, but your greatest opportunity lies in recognizing your natural talents. Know what you already do well. So what are talents? They're thoughts, feelings, and behaviors that come naturally to you. If I look at a situation, achiever is my number one. I tend to think to myself, okay, what can I do? What can I make happen in this environment? And my maximizer is number two. How can I do it efficiently? This comes naturally to me. Other people look at me like what are you thinking? How are you looking at it that way? But that's how I think. So the better you can apply these talents, the greater your potential to build your confidence and direction, hope. All of these positive things come from recognizing your strengths, because people who focus on using their strengths tend to be 3 times as likely to report having an excellent quality of life and 6 times as likely to be engaged in their job. These are results from the Gallup organization. Also, people who focus on using their strengths maximize their potential. Their productivity can increase, and the profitability that they bring to their organization can increase. So we start with recognizing what our talents are, and we finish with turning our talents into strengths. So there are 2 videos I have posted in Blackboard. I'm assuming you've already watched them. I think they're a total of 6 minutes between the both of them. Your worksheet that you have asks you to share one insight you gained from the Unlock Your Potential video and the your greatest strengths video. So if you haven't done that yet, you don't have to stop the video and do it now. Just make sure you do it before you submit this worksheet. So let's see, talent is naturally reoccurring. So examples of talent include seeing patterns in data. For some people that comes very naturally. For others, not so much. Believe it or not, positivity is actually a talent, something that you naturally have. So some people are consistently positive because that's the nature of who they are. Now, if you can work in your strength zone, there are a lot of benefits that come from it. You actually enjoy your job. You figure out how to make your job work for your strengths. You can get more done on a daily basis. You have more positive, creative, and innovative moments, and you work better with others when you feel like you're playing to your strengths. So it's called CliftonStrengths because Donald Clifton was the researcher who put together this assessment. And his concept was, what would happen if we really thought about what was right with people rather than fixating what is wrong with them? So from that positive psychology movement, he created this assessment. This assessment has been translated into numerous different languages. It's been distributed in over 50 countries, and there are lots of different books surrounding the concept. So these themes are the basics of talent. So what happens when you took the assessment, there were a bunch of different questions. Certain questions pertain to certain themes. So there are 34 total themes within this report. You were only asked to do your top 5. In reality, your top 10, which you can't see unless you purchased all 34, that's a moneymaker on Gallup's part. Your top 10 tend to switch places. But right now you have your top 5 and they are in order. So the very first one is the one that tends to be the strongest. So in the worksheet, and you have your report, what I'm going to ask you to do is to stop this video or this recording and take about 5 minutes, 10, 15, whatever you need to read through your signature report, highlight words that resonate with you. What really speaks to you? Like, oh yeah, that's me, right? You're going to highlight that. And then on your first page, it asks you to list your signature themes on the left. And then on the right, what were some of the key phrases that really stood out for you? And because I could be an achiever and one of you could be an achiever, yet the words that resonated with me could be different than yours. So go ahead, stop the recording and complete that bottom part of page 1. And then when you're done, go ahead and resume the recording. Okay, I'm going to assume that you completed the first part of the activity. So page 2 asks you to think a little bit differently about your signature themes. So on the left, you're going to list your top 5, and then you're going to think about not just what resonated with you in the description, but how you see this theme play out in your daily life, whether it's work, whether it's volunteer, whether it's your family, and then write those thoughts to the right of each of your strengths. You may have to brainstorm with some people who know you well. You may have to ask them a couple questions. How do you see this play out with me? Go ahead, stop the video, take the time you need to complete this activity, and then I'll be back. Okay, at the bottom of page 2, it asks you, how might your strengths hinder what I do in my job, at school, sports team, etc.? There's a concept I like to call balconies and basements. So the balcony is the positive aspect of your talent when it's applied productively. So for example, I'm an achiever. Productively is identifying, I leverage it by identifying goals, creating new projects, fleshing out action items, action plans, and deadlines. The basement is when this talent is misapplied, it can cause problems. For example, if I create too many goals, too many objectives, and too many action plans, I can become overwhelmed and ultimately inefficient. So here's an example, a maximizer. They like to be efficient and continually improve things. So on the plus side, they keep raising their bar, but on the basement side, they're never good enough. Input, they like information. They love to collect information. This is great. However, their desire to collect information can make it difficult for them to finish a project. Responsibility, a great thing, a balcony is they're loyal and trustworthy. A basement is they can become a stressed out workaholic, right? So I like the statement, any strength overutilized can become a liability. So think about your top 5. You do not have to list all 5 of them, but at the bottom of page 2, it asks you to think about how might your strengths hinder you. I shared one of my examples. And think how it might apply for you. So go ahead, stop the recording, take a few minutes, jot your thoughts down, and then come back. Okay, welcome back. So this next page, page 3, asks you to complete 4 prompts. And I do this after you've already identified your top 5 for a reason, for you to kind of think. Think about your strengths and then overall, how might you respond to these 4 questions? You don't have to put your strengths in here, but just answer these questions with your gut and then just kind of reflect on how they speak to your strengths. So, for example, how do I show up in a team environment? Let's see. You get the best of me when you ask my opinion and value it. Doesn't mean you have to agree, but you ask, you value, you recognize, you understand. The value I bring to the group is what value do I? Transparency. And communication. This is what I need from others. I need others to show up, and you can count on me to be honest and open-minded, right? So this is a great tool to use with people you work with on a regular basis because it helps you get to know how to work best with them. And sometimes it talks about people's strengths, which is even a better bonus. So take a few minutes, jot down your thoughts regarding how you would answer each of these questions. Stop the video and then start it once you're done. Okay. This next activity, there is a method to the madness for this activity. I want you to think of a moment when you were doing what you like, what you're good at, where you felt pride, just you felt like, man, I nailed it. That was amazing. So page 4 asks you to draw or describe this experience, and it says page 2 on the worksheet. It's really page 4. So one of the things I may put on here would be earning my PhD, right? It was a mountain, right? And then I think about it and then I think, okay, so how might my strengths have contributed to that success or that performance? Achiever, I set a goal, I was going to get it done. Maximizer, I tried to do it with the best of my ability, managing 4 kids and a full-time job. Focus. I tried to stay focused when I could. And when I did, I was absorbed in the writing and the research. My relator came into play because I had to work with a variety of different dissertation committee members, faculty, etc. My learner came into play because I was hungry for more information about employee engagement. It was a detriment it hindered my success in some respects because I kept going down rabbit holes with my research. So, because I wanted to learn more and I just needed to pull on my focus strength to keep my learner from preventing me from earning my degree. So take a minute, page 4, think about a peak performance of yours. And this could be kid related. I mean, one I used to put in there too was, my kids and success there. So just think about something specifically. It could be a performance. It could be an award. It could be anything. So stop the video, either draw or write down aspects of that peak performance on that sheet. Okay, the next thing I want to talk about, let's see, this slide talks about the best in a role deliver the same outcomes using different behaviors. What that means is you and I could both be teaching a class, but the way in which I go about it will play to my strengths, and the way in which you go about it will play to yours. I may use words, someone else may use diagrams. I may engage the audience with getting more information from them, respecting their individuality and input. Someone else may be more inclined to arrange the class into small groups and have them work on activities. So we're still working toward the same outcome. We just use our personal strengths to get there. And this is just once again reiterating the importance of playing to your strengths. So this is where it gets interesting. Your talent, So you've identified what some of your talents are. It's just the way you think, feel, behave. When you invest in that, which is you figure out more about how can I leverage my maximizer to become even better at what I do? How can I lean on my learner strength to do this better? Because once you recognize your talent and you figure out how to build on it, it becomes a strength. So we have some hidden talents you might not be aware of until this assessment that then you can begin to invest in and turn them into a strength, which ultimately will contribute to your leadership effectiveness. So consider people who consistently deliver a nearly perfect performance in a task, a waiter who consistently stays one step ahead of your needs. If this is something you do well, a good waiter or waitress, they have natural talent, the ability to do this. I could practice and practice and practice. I might get better at it, but I might never be the waiter or the waitress my favorite one is, or someone who has these talents that come naturally. Let's skip to another one. A service representative who quickly wins over an upset citizen or customer, right? There are different talents within the 34 that speak to that specific role. So this is where it gets interesting as well. Supervisors who focus on employee strengths were able to engage employees more than managers who focused on weaknesses. And what's really interesting is managers who focused on weaknesses stimulated what's called active disengagement among employees at a 22% rate, while strengths focusing managers reduced engagement to 1%. So active engagement is an employee who is seeking to sabotage the success of a project, a team, a unit, department, organization. So actively disengaged employees are very detrimental to an organization. So if you're in a supervisory role, and you have the opportunity to play to your employees' strengths, you're more likely to get them engaged, which is when they bring their head, heart, and feet into the workplace, and you're less likely to get an actively disengaged employee. Pretty exciting. So theme dynamics, it's a combination. Theme dynamics are essentially the combination of your strengths together. So if you look on page 5 of your worksheet, it asks you to put your number one signature theme on the left. So you're going to put your number one signature theme on the left. So example, mine would be achiever. And then it says other signature themes. And then I'm going to list my others in order. I'm going to do maximizer. I'm going to do learner, relator, focus, or focus relator. I can't remember. Anyway, and then I'm going to look at, okay, my achievers on the left. And my next signature theme is maximizer. So I'm going to say, how do my achiever and my maximizer work together, right? And you're going to do that for your main strength, your second, third, fourth, and fifth strength. And then just write those in the box. This gives you an opportunity to examine how they can work together. And it is a fairly powerful activity. So you don't need to take that much time on it, but go ahead and stop the recording, Go ahead and stop the recording and complete worksheet number 5 to your best ability. Okay, so we're in the home stretch. The last part of this introduction to CliftonStrengths is the 4 domains of team strength. So if you look, there are 4 different columns. One is executing, the other's influencing, third one's relationship building, and the fourth one is strategic thinking. Within each of those columns are one of the 34 strengths. So locate yours right now. I think they're alphabetically in each column. So for mine, I would be selecting achiever and focus and executing. Influencing, I actually have maximizer. Relationship building, I have relator. And strategic thinking, I have learner. So mine tend to be fairly well balanced. However, I'm stronger in executing, which is the ability to make things happen. Influencing, I have one, which is, these are people who they have some relationship aspect building in them, but they're more likely to influence hence the word, persuade others, convince others, win people over, right? So I had an adjunct who worked with me at my previous institution, and he supervised 300 people at the base, right, Pet Air Force Base. And he was predominantly heavy in influencer when he took this assessment. And he said, I don't understand. He goes, I should be in executing because I get a lot of things done. And I told him, I said, well, you're really strong in influencing, because if you really look at it, you get things done, but you get things done through other people. And he started laughing and he goes, oh, good point. So sometimes you just have to look at each of the columns and figure out how they fit you. So the relationship building column is just that. How do you keep a team together? You're looking at harmony. How do you build understanding, develop other people? And then the strategic thinking helps people. I don't want to say futuristic, but that is one of them. Look ahead, plan accordingly, problem solve for potential obstacles, what have you. So go ahead and circle where your top five fall. And then at the bottom of page 6, it asks you, are you dominant in one domain? Like I mentioned, I was dominant in executing. How does it play out in your daily life? Do you see it play out differently? And then is there one that's not representative? I've had some people who had 0 in relationship building and 4 in strategic thinking and 1 in executing. So knowing that also tells you a little bit about how you show up in a group environment, how you show up to get your job done. So go ahead and stop the recording, complete worksheet page 6, and then join me back on the recording and we'll wrap up. Okay, so you've had an introduction to your strengths. You've had an opportunity to look at them, evaluate them a little bit. So your final assignment for this worksheet is to consider how your top 5 signature themes make you different. Write a summary short paragraph that describes how these themes play out in you. How do you demonstrate them? So I don't have this written down, but I'm going to wing it real quick. So I may say, the achiever in me, or no, let's not say, I don't even have to use the word. I seek to develop or identify and achieve numerous projects in an efficient manner by leveraging the input of other people and ideas as I implement projects according to budget and timeline. Yeah, something like that. So in there you've got, and I might say I stay focused. So in there you heard a little bit of achiever, a little bit of maximizer. Learner was gathering information from other people. And then focus was getting it done. And achiever came out again because achievement based on budget and timeline is important to me. So anyway, and it's a very brief paragraph, but this kind of gives you an opportunity to summarize who you are and what you bring to your organization, to your volunteer group, to your small group, what have you. And I think that's about it. Oh, some key points to remember about talents. Talents cannot be taught. Okay. I don't think so. Let me give you a good example. Adaptability is one of the 34. I have my entire, I'm a CliftonStrengths facilitator. So I've gone through their training program. So I have a list of all of my 34. So second to the end is adaptability. So one of my, something that's not a natural talent for me is to adapt when things don't go as planned. It doesn't mean I can't do it, because I know that's a challenge I have. So I work very, very hard to be adaptable. Can I do it? Yes. Can I get a basketball in the hoop? Yes. Am I going to do it with the finesse that Michael Jordan does? No, but I can figure out some of the basic techniques, right? So it doesn't mean you can't do all of those talents. It just means it doesn't come as naturally for you. Talents are almost like breathing. It just comes naturally. I'm constantly looking for new projects to take on. And time to time I become a little overwhelmed. talents or your potential strengths. So once you recognize your talents, you can then begin to build on them and they can become your strengths. So that is all she wrote for this recorded lecture on Clifton Strengths. Obviously, if you have any questions, don't hesitate to shoot me an email, text me, give me a call, and I can help answer any questions you may have. All right, take care. And when you're done with the worksheet, go ahead and you can either put it in a PDF format if you handwrote on it and send it to me, or save it as a document and upload it as a Word document into Blackboard. All right, take care and go play to your strengths.